G'day from Oz. Long time no see. Been away for about a month. Had a couple of deaths in the family, and I guess it's one of those times where you start reflecting over what time you spend on something like this, and that I guess will touch on a quick point. If you just remember this, if you're spending time on crypto and you find yourself looking at your phone every 5 minutes, maybe time to put the phone away, go have a chat to a real friend. Life's short. Crypto probably going to out-survive all of us. Money will out-survive us. So always make time for family, I guess. Don't get yourself lost in this shit. Apart from that, I've got no regrets about what I've done. It's just, when you watch a couple of people pass, you go, well, okay. It reminds you of what's real and what's not. Anyway, so I'm going to do a short one. Just, it was more of a quick shout out. Say hello. No, I haven't been mugged. I haven't got a portfolio worth being kidnapped over. I will say one chain did well. I've taken a little bit of my initial to put that out, and I'm going to let the rest ride. It looks like it's starting to pick up some traction. There's some tweets getting around where some ICOs are going to accept one chain only. That should probably drive up the price. Who knows? If one chain's on par with Ethereum, $300 in the long term is probably not unpredictable. So we'll keep an eye on that space. I'm going to be holding that one, and especially for Australia. If you hold these things for over 12 months, now I'm not a tax financial investor, seek your own advice, own your own mistakes. But yeah, I'll be holding that one for at least 12 months. Hopefully it becomes a capital gains event when I do decide to sell, and I'll lose a lot less than if I did if I declare it as an income. Because potentially it's one chain, if it does Ethereum at 300, we're all going to be pretty happy, those that got in on the sale. And look, if you look at Ethereum at its all-time high of about 1200 US, there's some big room to move, so it all depends. And plus there's a few other things coming out on the horizon. They've announced their basically have a look it's active. Have a look. They've announced some competition winners of people they're going to of apps they're going to look into. So I'm not a big guru on the whole ins and outs of it, but I do know there's enough action in that space to keep an eye on. Potentially, look, overall prices, we'll quickly touch on that. Now, I remember about a month ago I was saying prices will come down, and they did. Probably not as low as I predicted. I was looking at 5.5 on a rear end on a bad day. But I think it got up to 6.5, which is still a pretty good drop. So a lot of people buying the dip all the way past that point, I reckon it'll be pretty wrecked about now. Those who've been patient and just buying when there's enough. See, I bought in, I've only really become active in the last week or so. So I think Ethereum touched out around 450 or 500. So I put a little bit there, made the move, cashed out at 585. Because for me, and I'll go back to my support levels. If you draw it up, I think my main support gets around about 750. So let's see if we can find it while we're just playing around. Actually, I'll move this over this side of the screen. You can have a look at my pretty screensaver just for now. Actually, I'll put this up because this is a nice little page. This is an Australian ICO. These guys are from Adelaide. In fact, I heard about them coming through on LinkedIn. They're pretty active through that channel. Always a good chat, especially with them and Jamie from Horizon State. If you're not on LinkedIn, look, it's not as bad as Facebook, but yeah, maybe get on LinkedIn. You can keep an eye on what these guys talk about in their private channel. Well, not private, but in the business space. So for as for there is Adelaide ICO, Adelaide Group. I haven't really got straight into it, but obviously because of the nature of what's happened in the last month. But this is one I'm definitely looking at. There's another one called Grainblock, and that's another. Basically, what we're looking at is Australian ICOs, and then one more called Intimate. And I've been following them in their channels through Telegram for a little while. We'll talk about 2-3 months. So whenever there was a small media release from Forever Has Fallen in the local newspaper with advertiser in Adelaide, and that got my attention. And also they started to pop up through my LinkedIn feed, and I've had a chat to the guys. One of them's got a name of another guy I work with, so we had a bit of a laugh about that. But these guys look legit. I think in through their LinkedIn profile, and they are active, so the conversations are actually pretty interesting. They're always more about the ethics of ICOs, more than just the ICO content itself. So look, these guys have got my interest just because they talk the talk. I'm definitely going to read the white paper. I think it's all about gamification. It's a blockchain using. Definitely something I want to look at. I would, if I was people and you've got a bit of time, definitely get your head around it now. I hate telling people to go, oh, here's an ICO I'm involved with, but guess what? All the sales are closed because we've already bought the spots, and otherwise I wouldn't have told you. So we know a few players out there like that. Look, this one here, I've watched the channel go from, I think, literally like 12 people at one stage. It was a handful of people for a considerable amount of time. And now I think at the last look, and we'll double check, there's some substantial numbers, so it's moved a bit of traction, it's got a bit of ratings, the hype's starting to build up on this. I would keep an eye on it. I'm definitely in on the sale, just because it's from my state, my country, and I'm a big fan of backing our mob, and especially because in Australia, our laws, whilst we don't regulate on cryptocurrencies per se, what we do, what we do know is we're still protected by some protections, i.e. In Australian consumer protection, we're not allowed to go around and make false claims, etc, etc. So whilst we're not kind of protected on a financial level, if they go say, look, we're going to spend the money on this, and they go on a big coke bender, then that's all fine. We can actually proceed them in court for false representation. So look, this is what I don't mind about Australian ICOs, and I guess anyone that's in with Australia knows the kind of protection we get when we walk down. It's the same kind of protection we get when we walk in and buy a fridge. If the fridge doesn't do what it says, or it's misleading or something like that, then we're entitled to refunds, etc. So that's the only protection I know of when it comes to Australian ICOs, because they're soliciting money. It's not a security or anything like that. But in the same token, I think Power Ledger, there's been a few little ICOs, Horizon State, that have, I think they've punched above their weight. So I'm always a big fan of watching those Aussie ICOs. Okay, so definitely have a look at Forever Has Fallen. Grainblock is another one that I think it's got my interest. Well, I'll just drag it over from this screen here. Blockgrain, sorry. And I can see some practicality on this, especially because Australia is a big agricultural country. Again, same thing. Hopefully it's protected by the same Australian consumer protections. I haven't got into the depth on this, but I've been watching it from afar, because originally I thought these guys weren't going to do an ICO, it was all going to be private, and I think their term private was, they did have a private one, but they didn't raise heaps. So, and look at the token allocation. It'll be interesting to see how this public sale goes. Again, if this is what I think it's about, where you can link the supply chain all to blockchain, then in Australia I can see some big improvements, especially for farmers now who are starting to modernise the way they deal with. Look, there's quite a few companies out there when they deal with grain. I live in a grain area. And it all depends on what region is who you deal with. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Again, another one, I haven't read the white paper. I would suggest have a read in the next couple of days. I'll be having a read definitely tonight. I don't think there was much of a requirement for joining. Let's have a look. I think I'm already part of the group anyway. And another one, this one. Now, we all think SEX and ICOs are a bit sus. Be honest, this thing feels legit. I've spoken to some of the people, again, another Australian company. They've been getting around. I think they've got the eye of the right. See, it's not about putting sex and selling sex. It's about, I think, protections. Have a look at this one. It's more than just buying webcam streams. I think this is about consumers and service provider. So typically most of the other stuff's been I want to buy a slutty feed and I don't want no one to know me. Actually, what they want to do is have some build a system where you kind of it protects both parties. Now, I won't get into detail because I don't know a lot about it. Again, this is something I'll break down in the next couple of days. But their activity on LinkedIn, on profiles and stuff like that, even on the Telegram, this is going to be a small one. Look, these guys have got, put it like this, they've got Amnesty International looking and saying hello. So as I said, it's not about the sleaze of sex. It's about trying to make it more safer, I guess, would be the better way. Imagine if you could have anyone that's doing transactions and stuff. You want to have some accountability. I think it's about legitimising the sex industry, but also protecting the workers as much as it is about protecting the consumers. So have a look in this one. I think it's a way of equality. I think not that I say any woman in sex work is we won't go there, but you can see what I mean. If anything that makes something safer, let's have a quick look. So look, this Oracle's, and this is something I heard. There was going to be some information. It wasn't just going to be random shit. There was going to be analysing, data analysis, and again, this is all about protecting both people. See, look, if they're talking about matchmakers, imagine I have this. You'll get instantly matched up. Now, this is what I mean. It's not just about putting I want a dirty webcam feed. It's about, look, we're going to try and legitimise this, make it a proper business model, and protect everyone who's involved. Anyone, and again, it goes through who we're looking for. Verify again. This would be nice. Verification of age, because now we can put our details, everything but our genetic footprint yet on the blockchain. So most of this stuff can be pretty good. You don't have to. You're dealing business with someone, but again, and I have to look through the white paper, because the more I read stuff like this, I go, okay, that's fine. You've got a key now. How do you prove the user? So, someone can go, here, mate, it's your 21st. Here's my key. So look, as I said, I'm very interested in this one. I think it's finally got the right tone for what blockchain and the sex industry is about. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I'm definitely intrigued. It wasn't, here's my slutty feed and we're going to do this all on the chain, it's anonymous. I think it was kind of the opposite feeling of being anonymous. Like, there is some not everyone knows who you are, but there has to be some level of trust about what goes on, especially in this industry. You don't want someone rocking up, knocking you on the head, and then you go, well, we don't know who was there. Well, at least we can go, yes, that key lines up with this user. And again, girls won't need managers as well. They should be able to self-manage themselves. So imagine there's a whole lot of constraints that what we don't see in the modern world. Imagine in some of the other countries where they're unbankable, they're going to make accounts or anything like that. Anything that touches on social issues like this, I'm always intrigued. Sex, look, I love sex, but this is, when you talk about this stuff, this is protecting ladies and girls who probably through no fault of their own they're in a bad position. But these guys are legit about legitimising it. Again, these, look, this is what got me as well. Look at this. Where are they? Mobile phone numbers. This is legit. What the hell? Name an ICO that's put up a mobile phone number. You can ring these people and talk to them. Right, how real is that? Alright, so, and as I said, Leah I've seen go through the channel. She's very active. There's quite a few in the Telegram channel. Join the Telegram channel. Even if you just join, have a chat with these people. They're legit. You're going to find that anyone that puts their mobile freaking number up on their ICO page, it's got nothing to hide. Well, a lot less to hide than what I've seen others do. So, again, another legitimate one. Go have a look. I think these are Aussie numbers. And that's why, again, anything that's Aussie usually gets my attention, because usually 9 times out of 10 there's a lot harder to get away with shit in Australia. Anyone who puts their mobile phone number, that's what grabbed my attention. Join the TG chat, started feeling real. Now I'm going to read the white paper, and it could be a 20-30 page bloody scientific white paper. And I'll give it the time. So let's have a look. I'm going to talk about markets. So there's the ones I'm looking at today. Being Anzac Day coming on guys. Show your respects if you can on the day. But back in Aussie. Have a look. Intimate. Block grain, and also Forever's Fallen. I think, look, Forever's Fallen is nice little snappy. Have a look at it. It's starting to get some traction. As I said, I remember this when there was literally no one on the channel. Let's have a look on who's on the channel now. And it kind of exploded. It could probably come about from the nice reviews, favourable reviews I've been getting lately. Wait for Telegram to finally catch up. So 15,000 members now. As I said, I remember that was a handful, like literally less than 50. So I'm hoping they did promise me if I go to Adelaide I'll get a hat, and I'm going to hold them up to that. But yeah, Forever's Fallen, have a look at it. I think it's got the interests of a lot of people. Give me a second, I'm just going to fire off our chart, and I'm going to have a look at the moment I'm basing a lot of my movements on, well, what's happening with Bitcoin. But what you're going to find is the Ethereum had a bit of a climb over Bitcoin. So it's going backwards and forwards. Good to keep an eye on both markets, because Bitcoin's the tide that raises and sinks all ships. But Ethereum seems to be doing its own little thing sometimes too. So sometimes it falls in with what Bitcoin's doing, and sometimes it falls out of sync. Waiting for Bittrex. Woohoo. Here we go. Short story. Let's go have a look. I'm going on, I think I was going on a week lookout. Outlook 641. So yeah, I've been kind of following in and out. You won't see the small movements. You won't see the small movements on this weekly chart, but you will start seeing the big picture. So what I'm looking at, and I'm taking it from this high of 1400 back to what its basically low was before it gave us a significant bounce, and it's given us a bounce over a reasonable time period. So we're not looking at hours here, we're probably looking at what these are almost weekly candles. So it looks like overall things are starting to pick up. Now to be honest, I think we're all greedy at this point. We wish it went lower. So a lot of people did miss out on that bump, but when it gave us a confidence, and I think about 420 was when we started getting confidence, we made some small moves. So I made a small move from, I think, about 420 to 530ish or something, and I waited. So basically what I'm looking at though is I've got a reasonable long that I bought back in at, because I think it hit a mark of about 480 or 580, one of those two, and it started to trace back. So I've scaled out, and now I've just got another one going, and I got that going at about 600. So what I'm hoping is, it looks like if we go back using Fibonacci, 750 seems to be, and look, psychologically and using Fibonacci, it just seems to think that's what I'm looking for before I reckon it might go for a run back down. Things can be, I'm also in another, and it's okay in this case to have, I guess, a few opinions, because you need to be mindful that not one thing might be correct. I'm also a bit mindful that people have been cautious while it's been trading, and we'll go back to a quicker time frame. there was a lot of sideways movement for the last couple of weeks. We need to go back a bit more, maybe 4 hours or a day. Yeah, let's back it up. So it's kind of, I reckon it was in between March, April. Yeah, but this period here is, I think, where a lot of people were intrigued. So it did the drop, and everyone's like, being greedy as we are, some of us, hoping it'll drop more. And then we saw, and a lot of us watched this initial spike, and we went, okay. And we were a bit hesitant because we thought this was going to be a bull trap. And what's kind of got me thinking is, there's a bit of sideways movement down here, and then a spike. Now, probably people still being hesitant. If you're going to create a bull trap and everyone's getting a bit immune to it, you might want to give it another run. But in the same token, it's kind of painful. This is where FOMO kicks in. You go, look, I'd love to be in here. So, as I said, I opened up a position around about 480ish and cashed out at 530 because I was looking at, I think I was looking at some support around here. And then it kind of broke through that again. And I was like, oh, okay. So I waited for another bit more indicator. And then it hit about 580, I think, is when I went, okay, I'm starting to think about buying back in. So I'm happy to buy back in now. Made a small move. Very mindful that I'm hopeful, and you're always careful when you say those words, that I'll come back to 750. And then I might just cash out, depending on which way it goes. Because that could be a trigger point. If it can't break 750, then we're on our way back down. So, and if it goes back down, then who knows? It might continue on this pattern, albeit in, maybe something like this, but just repeated later on. So that's my mindset at the moment. I'm going to try and make a little bit of moves, and I made, about 10-15% on one move. Now, I'm happy to give up some of that 10-15% to be wrong on this move, and if it drops, okay, sell out, but I don't wait till it crashes. Or I can build on it just a little bit more, and that's just the way I'm working at the moment. But so if it decides to bounce off 750, or 750 gets there, I'll be happy to sell it because I've made what I expect. Now, it can break through that. Look, we'll start another, we'll do another order then. So that's just how I'm playing at the moment, being mindful that there's been a really long downward bearish movement for a long time. This might be the catalyst, and I joked about one chain maybe reinvigorating the market, and I don't think that's happened. I think there's been a few BS articles getting around, about big players wanting to be investing and getting involved and whatnot. So who knows? I don't see a real catalyst for this moving, but the more it keeps moving, it's going to build positive sentiment. Action brings action. So what if it still keeps moving up and it makes it to 750? That might be the momentum to keep it going up further and further and further. But be mindful that if we've been set up for a nice little bull trap, a lot of people right now who might be going, getting the FOMO, especially as it cracks through. If it breaks through 650, hits 750, I'm guaranteed FOMO's going to start kicking in for those who didn't buy. So it'll be interesting to see how this is, because this market's more psychological than it is technical at the best of times. There's a lot of people out there who are going, I'm happy to sell at 750 now. Always have your rules. So that's why, even when I said, you might say, why didn't you hold your investment from X to Z? I set these rules. I go, look, I'm happy with 10-15% here. I'm happy if it hits this level there. If it bails and doesn't do what I want, I've got to admit my mistake and move on. In the same token, I've still got a lot of long holds going on from ICOs, so I don't mind bailing out at 750 and having to hit 1100, because whilst I missed that move on Ethereum alone, I'm not going to miss that move on all the holds that I've cashed out on and taken my initials out along the way. So it's kind of that nice protection, but at the same time, the one thing that can destroy that is something that goes crunching down. So in the same time, that's why it's always good to take some profits out, convert it back into some coin, some fiat, US dollar, Tether, whatever, and just keep scaling out. So the first thing I did, in as much as it hurt me, and this is an example, where one chain went up, I took out my initial. I put it into Tether. And this is a bit of a silly mistake because I wanted to move it from one wallet to another. I should really have left it for Ethereum because Tether costs a bit to move. Ethereum doesn't cost that much, people. So take that tip right there. But at the same time, while I was sitting in Tether, Ethereum jumped up another 15%. Look, I can't bitch. It hurts to see those things, but reality is I just took out my initial from one chain. I've got that in cash, as much as close it is without being in my bank account. So why should I complain? Really, I can't bitch about the big moves or the moves that I miss out on. I just got to be happy with me sticking with my plan, doing what I think is right, and protecting my investment by doing what I do. Look, who knows? There are guys out there, there's guys like Ian Bellino going, I made myself $1 squillion over 3 years. But really, he hasn't. He's lost a lot of it now because of the market downfall and stuff, and he's also been recently hacked. So, you need to be in this. It's more than just reading graphs like that. You try and look after yourself. You try and protect yourself. Move money away. Look at risk mitigation across many ways. But yeah, look, it's been an interesting couple of times. I think we might be heading into positive territory. Look, the volume's still very low though, and that means it can be moved around a bit. But again, it could be one of those things that just as it starts to move, we might see more and more traction. Bitcoin hitting around 9.2 is my mark. 9,000 at the moment is the psychological mark. But 9.2 for me is a Fibonacci, I think, a support level for me. So if it breaks 9.2, then again, it's going to bring up what's going on with everything else. So look, there's my breakdown. There's a quick hello. It turned into a fucking hour rant. Have a look at those 3 ICOs. F's getting, maybe I'm happy to also buy my ETH. There was another reason why I bought my ETH, even though I've come in, taken a profit, watched it go up a bit more, and then bought back in. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to spend it at one of these ICOs in the next couple of days. So, look, for me, if it goes in an ICO and the ICO values it at around about the mark that I bought, it's kind of like money in the bank. And that's what I find good about some ICOs as well, is a lot of them kind of, one chain's a perfect example. It held value even through the market dropping through the arse, the bears coming in and savaging the shit out of everything, and one chain comes out and out of the box is 10 times, plus. That's pretty good, and it's still holding it. So that's what's giving me real confidence with one chain as well, because the market where it was now, which is about $400 billion market cap, one chain's come out, I think when it was about 350, 300. So its pricing is kind of hopefully pegged against what the flow is now. So when the market cap goes back to, let's say, the December levels where we're looking at nearly $1 trillion, and that's without any advancements on what one chain development's doing. So who knows? I can get their atomic swap and all that stuff going, and they start making more announcements. The price is going to go up beyond what Bitcoin's going to be pegged at. And it's going to be interesting. I'd love to see one chain touch 300. Look, let's do a call. Let's say $80 by the end of the year because of Neo, and $300 by the end of 2019. How's that? So I'm just working on like what Neo and all that. Neo's there for ICOs, but Ethereum's kind of like everyone knows about, and Neo's still a dark art. Look, I've got Neo, I hold Neo, but to be honest, I haven't participated in a Neo ICO yet. Now that could be ignorance, arrogance, whatever. But also the fact that Neo has to be sent in the whole blocks as well, so it's a bit different. And I've heard, I think with the Red Pulse issues that happened with that ICO, it took a while to clean that up. A bit hesitant with Neo, but I'll hold it when things start to move in the Chinese space. That's when I think it's going to be interesting. In Chinese space, keep an eye on that. That keeps moving for us everywhere. So, look, long story short, keep an eye on the market. I think they're starting to get some traction. if things don't break, so let's say if it doesn't hit 9.2, doesn't hold, I think we'll see it come back to 8.5. If it breaks 8.5 down to 8.2, then the problem is the market's not just full of holders, it's full of shorters and leverage bloody orders and stuff like that. So it's interesting because it's kind of like two halves. There's some people that are betting on the fall and some people that are betting on it rise. And it feels like that they're an external factor that a lot of people don't factor in. They just think, oh yeah, everyone's a holder, everyone's a day trader. No, there's some leverage shit going on at the moment too that's also causing havoc in the market. So that's because the volume is low, and then the average holders aren't moving around much. So that's my theory. Look, I think there's a lot more money to be made in these small sideways movements using leverage. So if people see what's going on, 7,500, you bought at 8.5 and it drops down to 7.5. A lot of people will make some big marks on that. But in the same token, it goes up to 9.2, and all of a sudden people are selling. So it's not just the mums and dad buyers that are controlling the market flow at the moment. It's also those that are doing the shorts. So be mindful of that. Look, there could be a lot of people banking on it falling from 9.2, and if they start shorting a shitload of orders at 9.2, they will try and with other funds try and make that happen, and I've seen it happen in the last few weeks where some people do have enough funds to make this shit happen, and if they can make it drop, so let's say they short at 9.2 and they can push the price down to 8.8 and they've got a 20 times leverage, and they've made some money, and they could probably use some of that money they've done by forcing the market down to move the market down at the same time as well, because the volume's not there. There's not enough resistance and pull from buyers and sellers to stop this shit from happening. So that's why we need more volume. The more volume that comes, the harder it is to buy out the market from 9.2 to 9 to 8.8 and so on and so on. So you might see that still play out while the volume's still short. Now, I'm happy for anyone to say you're full of shit, and here's the reason why, and I'm happy to learn. But that's just my gut feeling on the situation. Alright everyone, hooroo from Oz. I thought I'd just chuck it out there. I'll do an in-depth one. I'll do each one of those ICOs as a separate video. I think they deserve the credit. And let's back an Aussie. And Anzac Day, look, any Kiwis out there, any Aussies out there, you know what it means. To the Turks, that's something special for them as well. Only in Australia can we go to a country and still end up being somewhat good friends with most people afterwards. So look, don't forget, wars fought by both sides, but wars never glory, but Bitcoin can be. Alright, take it easy people, hooroo.